y'all doing? Welcome back to Cooking with PatRicky Bobby, Dyngus Day Part 2. Now I forgot to mention last week, for Dyngus Day, because the flag of Poland is red and white, we all wear red and or white on Dyngus Day. And here you can see I'm wearing my Polish shirt. Now I have used Google Translator and I do believe this says something like boogity boogity boogity, let's go race in Poland. So it's an appropriate type of wear for an event such as this. Remember again, we have little shots of vodka whenever you possibly can. Smingus dingus. Oh, making pierogies gets more and more fun, I'll tell you. Now, today we're going to work on making the dough, and this is the most important part. You can really go wrong here if you make the wrong kind of dough. Now, once again, for my Baba's recipe, what I'm going to explain here makes about 30 pierogies. I'll double it and then make another batch after that if I need to. You really kind of use the potatoes as the limiting reagent here. So for this recipe, we'll take 3 cups of flour and 1 teaspoon of salt. That'll go in one bowl. The other bowl is going to be 1 cup of warm water. And you'll see I'll microwave that to bring her up to speed. 2 tablespoons of olive oil and 1 egg. And then what y'all do is you mix that up and then mix it together and get a nice consistency. And then we let her sit there for about 10 minutes resting while we get everything else ready. Now once again, we're going to go to hyperspeed for this. Are we ready there, smoking hot?
Sure are.
Engage. All right, welcome back. Gosh, that was a lot of work. Smingus dingus. Now you do realize I usually share this with folk, but we don't have any folk over right now, so I'm doing it myself. So I've made the dough, and you cover her up there, let her sit for about 10 minutes to do whatever it's going to do. Now I just want to point out my little girls here, my little Polish girls here. I always have them out helping me do this, make the pierogies. The best thing about these little girls, if this one starts squawking too much, you know what? I just put her away, and I can't hear her squawk. That one starts to squawk, well, you know where she's going. And you know what? If she squawks, well, you know what I'm going to do smoking hot. By then, this one knows not to squawk. All right. So, time to start to roll out the dough. Now, this is a fully sterilized surface here, and I suggest you throw down a little bit of flour there to give something to work with so it don't stick all over the place. I also like a little pile over here just for when I'm doing some other work here. So, the dough is actually quite a wet dough, and that's okay. You don't want it to be dry. And I'm going to try and grab a chunk of this dough. And, whoa. It's okay to add a little bit more flour to it here. Firm it up a bit. And my goodness. It's maybe a little wetter than I thought. So I'm going to put a little more flour down here to work with. Now she's looking good. That's what you want. You know what? You can always go from wet to dry, but you can't go from dry to wet, if you know what I mean. So, got to have a good rolling pin. And then we start to roll. And look how nicely this kind of oozes out. And this is the key. You want to have really thin and flexible dough. That's how you make your best pierogies. If it's thick, well, it may look pretty when you're making it, but when you go to cook it, my goodness, not good at all. So we're going to just kind of work in a few different directions here. And it's interesting, this does start to dry out a little bit as you work. So the first batch is always the most flexible. And after that, it starts to get a little harder to work with. So we're just going to kind of enjoy the good times right now. Now what we all got to do here is first of all I got to wash my hands. Let's do a little cut here while I wash my hands. We'll come right back. All right, I'm back with clean and dry hands. You need to have dry hands here too. Now what we're going to do here is cut out little circles to make our pierogies. And what I highly recommend is your old NASCAR cup because it's just perfect for doing this. So we just go give it a little twirly and we just kind of make our little cuts like that. And now As I said, I got my potato mix over here, and I got a little bit of flour just to make sure your fingers are not too wet. I'm going to pull up one of these little roundies, and you're going to take, oh gosh, you know, about that much potato, and I'm going to put it in the middle here. All right, you see what I done there? Now, you might think that I should fold it this way, but I'm going to fold it this way. And while you're doing this, it's really important not to have potato mix in the seam. So I'm going to pat that down. And this is where a little bit of flour is nice sometimes, just to help you with that. And then you're just going to push her together. Same thing here. I'm going to push the potato out of the seam. I'm going to just make sure my finger's dry again. And then I'm going to push her together. Now that still ain't a pretty looking pierogi, but what you can do, just make sure I'm dry here, is now you can kind of form it and squish her down a little bit more to your heart's desire. Now we don't worry about having a really big fat lip here, okay? It just needs to be touched together. That's about all you got to do. And that there is a fine looking pierogi. And then just follow me over here, smoking hot. What I like to do is I have a piece of parchment paper over here with a little bit of flour on it. And I'm just going to set her down there and make my layers of pierogies here. And they can sit there for as long as you need until you're ready to cook them up. All right. What we're going to do now, I'm going to go ahead and work away on this. Smoking hot, you ready to go back to hyper mode?
Yes.
All right, engage. All right, we've made it to the final stage here. Now you see over here I got some of my prepared pierogies that I've been making all afternoon. What you all do is get a boiling pot of hot water here, and then you throw the pierogies in there and they'll sink to the bottom, but as they cook they'll start to float to the top. These ones ain't quite there yet, but they'll be there in a minute. You scoop them out into a big bowl, and I usually throw a bit of butter in there, and then you can just kind of mix her up. But don't that look good? Now you'll notice these ones all stayed together because I did a good job with my seam work. Remember, don't put those potatoes in the seam. Gotta have clean seams to hold her together. Now traditionally Baba would make these fresh. We'd have these for dinner, and then the second day is when you all fry them up. And of course you can add bacon and sour cream and onions to whatever you want, fresh or the second day. So there you have it, folks. Remember now, Dyngus Dingus. Shake the baker, buddy. So, our PatRicky Bobby's Polish pierogies, well, do I need to say much else? Well, they were, how you say, very good. Oui, très bien. In fact, I would say 2 thumbs up.
It was good.